welcome to today's episode of Unholy Health.
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
The event.
Yes, all right. I think we're going to talk a little bit about detox. Maybe we'll touch on that a bit. We might postpone that till next time.
I think the event's really interesting because this is technically, you'd probably say, a health brand. And we talk about wellness, and a lot of these events focused around that sort of thing are your fun runs, your Pilates meetups. I see very fancy, catered, whole food dinner events. And we decided to do a party with alcohol and secret rooms. It was very different.
Yeah, well, because it's all about balance. What'd you think?
I loved it. I had never been to an event like that ever. It was really cool. And doing the social media for it and seeing it from the perspective of I knew what was happening. And still that first time I went into the hidden room, it was so full on. So full on. It was like those actors did incredible. For those of you who don't know, we did an event in Sydney and it was an art battle, but we were also launching the new flavour of FLCK. And we did that by having this hidden room within the event where you got taken into. And it was like a ritual, wasn't it? You'd say a ritual to try it.
Yeah, I would say a ritual, yeah.
It was really cool. You have to go look at the videos. They're all over social media, but it was really cool and really full on.
Yeah, I mean, there was my idea, but then at the end of the night, I went and did it. Like I went through the experience. And even though it was like I said, it was my idea. When I did it, I was like, holy shit, these people there, they were really talented. They did such a great job.
They did not crack, ever. I did not see them crack because I did it a few times recording different people, and they did not crack.
Yeah, it was a whole lot, and they had a great time too. They said that they enjoyed it thoroughly. So
it was just so immersive.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it, but it was so different to what you would expect from a wellness event. And I think that was also very on brand, that it wasn't just... Because even when I first heard about the event, I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. It sounded on paper just almost too much, but it worked so well.
Kind of the concept behind it, I mean, it was a very... Anyway, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but the concept behind it was that there's this trend in... this space where you just need everything I see on socials around the place, all these products. You're sick and you need help, right? Like you're ill, there's something wrong with you, you need our product to fix this or to fix that. And it's that trope is so common around the place. So to literally have... and if anyone who hasn't seen the costumes, they were plague doctor costumes. So it's like you're actually sick. You need to come and drink our product to make you well again. Because, like one of the things that we talk about on this podcast a lot is that it's not really about quick fixes or, you're broken and you need medicine for, some people do need medicine for whatever, but there's so many things around where it's like you just have to have this because you're ill. But no, there's only so much a product can do. If it's actually medicine, like if you need insulin to live, like that's a whole different thing. But otherwise, it's a little bit too extreme everywhere. So playing off that and having a bit of fun with it, because ultimately, as we can sell it, we can have a healthy drink, but it's not going to fix people, right? Like you still have to live your life.
Yeah, and I mean supplements I think have become so confused with medicine. Like there is so much you see on social media now where people act like certain drinks or certain supplements or certain diets are a necessity to live.
Yeah.
And it's just, and like you were saying, you still need to be able to live life a bit. There's so much in the wellness space where I don't think you can. Like it's no alcohol and you've got to be up at 5 and, you need to be in bed by 9 o'clock. And our event kind of went against all that. It started at 7. There was alcohol. It was It was just fun, but there were underlying themes of wellness. And I don't think you even had to be into wellness to get it.
No, I don't think so.
And that's why I think it was cool. I think there's a lot of these wellness things where you either are in or you're out. Whereas this was a cool event, no matter what you were into. But if you understood the underlying themes, then it was even cooler.
Yeah, and we did have low alcohol and no alcohol cocktail options, which I don't know if some people maybe, I don't know if everyone even noticed which
no,
drink
they
they were
actually
picking.
didn't, because someone said to me, which one have you been drinking? And I was having the one that was like the Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, I've been having this other one. It's really good. And I was like, oh, I haven't been having that because I wanted the one with alcohol in it. And they were like, is there no alcohol in this? I was like,
yeah.
nah. Like people were just enjoying the drink and had no idea.
Yeah. And that's such a, I think in terms of wellness, a big thing is like you have to, and we talked about this the other week, like if something becomes the focus instead of generally, living a healthy life, then it's a problem. Like if your focus is I need as much alcohol as possible to cope with life, or I need to go out and get shit-faced on the weekend to live, then that's not healthy. If you can take or leave the alcohol, that's so much better.
Yeah. And I mean, I see it on both sides as well. I think if you don't want to drink alcohol, that's great. But there's a lot of people that go, I either have to drink or I have to not drink. So when you see people drinking, like I quite enjoy non-alcoholic wine, just if I feel like the taste, but I don't want the wine. Whereas most people that drink that, it will be because they're not drinking, full stop. There's a lot of people that can't enjoy both, which I find funny. And that's why we're at this event when the person that said it to me drinks alcohol, they had no idea. And they were enjoying this drink on this night out and it had no alcohol in it. And they didn't care and they didn't notice. And so, yeah, that was really cool because I didn't even notice myself until because I was recording everything. I was reading it. But had I just gone up and picked a drink, I would not have actually noticed the low alcohol or no alcohol.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known the difference. Obviously we tasted them all beforehand as well, but when I was ordering them myself on the night, I couldn't remember which had alcohol and which didn't. So that was good.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. The whole thing was really cool, and of course the art battle, that was a focus of it. I had never seen anything like that before. Yeah,
Cindy Sin and Dale B or Begini did a amazing job. I haven't seen one either before, so
I had never seen, and it was funny because, spoiler alert, Cindy ended up winning, but at the start I was like, "What is he doing? Like he's miles behind." Like it was so. I remember I was recording this for socials, and he was getting off to a really slow start. And I was like, this guy's giving me nothing. And then at the end, he went so theatrical and it was such an elaborate artwork. And I was like, okay. It's really cool when you see that because having never seen it, I just expected an amazing artwork from the first second. You don't kind of appreciate that journey of, for the first half an hour, I was judging him massively, being like, you are doing nothing. And then you go, oh, actually.
I guess that's how, not everything, but a lot of creative things are like that, right? Like you can't see it initially and then you, once it actually starts to take shape.
Yeah, that was really cool because, I just had never appreciated any sort of artwork from that point. And then it became not theatrical, it was theatrical, but they were like actors a bit. The way they started to have fun with it and the water fight at the end, it was really cool. Yeah,
it was definitely a lot of fun. And we had the hip hop dancing as well.
Oh, they were incredible. And I think that was so funny with everything that's been happening with the ray gun stuff. Funny.
That never occurred to me, but it's interesting, yeah.
It was the first thing I thought because they were all so talented. And I was like, wow. It was the perfect time to have breakdancing.
Yeah. Well, you guys should, I don't know, be at the Olympics or something, right?
That's what I said. I was like, we should have just sent them. They were incredible. And they did not
Yeah.
stop either. The energy they had was just...
Yeah, they're really good. And then they've been doing a few more dances around the place, like in Sydney CBD the other day. They did some, so pretty chaotic, but all in all, I think everything went together pretty well.
It's really cool. Like, even just from a social standpoint, everything I see or hear about what's going to happen, every now and then I'm like, is this going to work? Like, what? And then you see it actually unfold and you're like, it's so good. And it's such good, that unique branding that's so on point for Flick.
Yeah. Without giving too much away, we will do something in summer.
Oh, good. I'm ready for the next one now.
Yeah.
Let's just do them weekly.
Well, unfortunately they are, would I say stressful? I probably would say, yeah, a little bit stressful. Like for that week before, it gets pretty intense.
Well, when you're there and you can see how much goes into it, you can appreciate why.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a go and get a drink and listen to some music. It is a experience.
Yeah, so we will do something in summer, also with another limited edition.
I don't think I even know what this is.
Right. Well, I'm not gonna talk about it on the podcast, but we will talk about it separately. But yeah, so we'll do a launch event with the next limited as well, and this is generally the theme that doing fun, creative things should be part of wellness. Like that. Why do we take everything? Not that everyone is, but a lot of the time it's like you talk about, you've got to get up at 5, you've got to do your ice bath, and everything's got to be miserable and awful, or you have to, party and get drunk and do lots of drugs or something. Like you don't need that either, but you need to have a bit of fun and be creative and do cool things.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle with wellness, is because they might get up at 5 and journal and drink their green juice and never eat a carb. But then the second they want to have a little bit of fun and do something, they've failed and they've got to start again on Monday. And then you get into that trap of, well, now I'm just going to smash myself Friday to Sunday and I'll start again Monday because I failed. And they're just setting themselves up to fail because it's a tough lifestyle to never crack from. You miss out on a lot of life.
When's the last time you cracked and went off the rails or something?
Oh, all the time. I can't stick to a diet to save my life. I am useless. Driving home from Sydney to Melbourne, I did that totally fueled off sugar. Whole way home.
Just every sugary beverage and food you could find?
Not beverage, every food I could find, because I was also bored. So I needed to just constantly be chewing something.
All right.
And I needed to be awake. That was terrible. That was a shocker. That was really bad.
Like lollies, like shakes and snakes and jelly beans and chocolate and all that sort of stuff?
Oh, all that. And I came across, so there's this Oreo Coke collaboration. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
That was the worst thing I've ever had.
Really? It was that bad?
It didn't work. The Oreos were okay because they kind of tasted like Oreos and just smelt like Coke.
Okay, so the Coke flavored biscuits were good.
They were okay. Like, I'll give them an 8, but the drink was terrible.
Did it just taste like...
It had this weird aftertaste. It didn't even taste like Oreo. It was Pepsi with this, like, horrible aftertaste. But that's my kind of thing. I have this weird thing where if I'm going to go totally off the rails and I like to try new things, I don't know why. I feel like that's the balance.
If it's a new experience, then it's got some benefits regardless of...
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. So instead of me going, oh, I've just eaten bags and bags of marshmallows because marshmallows is like my go-to.
Yeah.
At least I've tried all these new amazing things. So every like bakery and every like random little service station on the way from Sydney to Victoria, I sampled something.
I guess Allens just need to have a new flavor of marshmallow every week and you would be in a lot of trouble.
That would be... I used to have you ever seen those gourmet marshmallows?
I know of a bakery that used to do them, but other than that, that's the only time I've ever seen them. This one place that had them.
Yeah, so that used to be my vice, but That was like marshmallows, but everything was different. So I enjoyed
But
that.
the ones I saw, they're quite large, and they would also coat them in different things as well, like maybe coconut or yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's on the big square ones.
I mean, marshmallows, it's literally like it's just sugar and gelatin, right?
Yeah, because I'm a texture eater. I feel like you either are or aren't a texture eater. Like, I love salads because it's really crunchy.
Yeah, okay. I also like, my texture definitely matters, but it's more that, so for example, avocado by itself, hate, hate. Can't.
Yeah, I'm the same.
If it's in guacamole, I can handle it, but like,
I can only have it with like a chip. Like, could you eat straight guacamole like with a spoon?
no, it has to be on something because avocado texture is just vile.
Yeah, it's terrible. And when you go to a cafe and it's not ripe enough and they give you like hard, crunchy avocado, that is the worst thing ever. Avocado, I think, is very. You either love it or you hate it, and you can so easily still be turned off it, even if you like it. It's a bit like eggs. Have you ever heard of getting the egg ick?
I always am uncomfortable with eggs. I usually prefer when people they always look at me weird. I'm like, when I order eggs, half the time I'll say, "Well done." Like I want the egg like cooked right through, and people are like that's terrible. But usually I can't handle a runny egg. I'm just like no, especially if the white is runny.
Oh no, that's the worst. Because like eggs, because I was vegan, I didn't eat eggs for ages. Just because the concept of an egg as well freaked me out. And then they are the best thing I find because I don't like eating meat. For if I want to get heaps of protein, eggs.
Yeah.
And I'll go through a couple weeks where I will love eggs, and then all of a sudden I will eat an egg, and it's foul, and I can't eat eggs for a year. I get the egg ick all the time.
Poultry is definitely one of those things in general where we generally think of it as pretty unoffensive, but I try. I have a bit of a weird. I've done vegan for a while, but I have this odd. I tend to call myself a fair weather vegan, as in I I think Western diets, like modern diets, can be pretty bad, and if every meal you eat has to center around a meat, then there's probably a whole lot of other foods that you're not getting. Because you end up, I'll have a steak and then do I need vegetables? Maybe I'll have like a pea and some potato. So you end up like every meal just being like meat and some sort of carb. So there's a whole lot of things that you miss out on. So I did actual vegan for about 6 months, and like I didn't touch any. I was like strict vegan for 6 months. This is probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and when I went back, I thought that red meat was going to be the hardest to handle, but chicken was really offensive. It was just like, what? This is so, it smells funky. It's just weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, the meat things, because I was vegan, and then so I was vegetarian from 12, vegan from 15 to 19. And the only reason I stopped ever being vegan was my boyfriend at the time. It was too awkward going out for dinner in social settings and him having to be like, my girlfriend doesn't eat this, this, and this. So I think half the problem was my reasons for going back to eating meat were pretty crap anyway. But went back to eating meat, was like, this is not for me, can't do it. Now I'm like, I say I'm an unlabeled vegan because I don't like dairy, I don't like eggs, I don't like meat. But like I'll eat fish and I'll eat eggs if I'm not icky with eggs at that point in my life. But the funny thing I observed with meat was I think a lot of people eat a lot more meat than they realize. Like they don't realize, they'll say, oh, I'm having eggs for breakfast and there's like a piece of bacon, and they'll say, oh, I'll just get a pie or a ham sandwich or something for lunch, and then for dinner they have their meat and veg, and it's like, you've had meat 3 times today. And it's like, I think more and more information is coming out that regardless how you feel about meat, it's not healthy to eat too much of it. And I just don't think there's enough understanding of like, it sounds simple, but what meat is. Like so many people I know wouldn't call a ham sandwich meat because it's just a little slither of ham in bread. It's only meat if it's a chicken schnitzel or it's, you know, a big steak or something like that.
Do you feel different? You know, you're saying like listen to your body, what we were talking about the other week. Do you feel, given that you probably don't eat that much meat, or maybe when you weren't eating any and then you did start to, did you feel like ill at all when you would eat it, or would it upset you, or no, it just wouldn't matter?
It was a weird, I think, because when I was vegan and vegetarian, I was very, very skinny. So when I went back to eating meat, I was also bombing my body with a lot of calories it hadn't had in years.
Yeah.
So I felt rubbish regardless. But now it's more when I eat meat. It's this weird, like, body-wise, I don't always feel terrible, but I feel really icky. Like, it's just, I can't, I think because I was vegan for the animals.
Yeah.
Even though now it's kind of like I'm a bit more detached. I think if you still have that, you either are or you aren't a meat person. Like, I eat it and I feel gross thinking there's a dead animal in me.
Yeah.
Which not everyone's going to have that feeling. Whereas for me, I can't get over that concept.
Right. I mean, that's, and especially you spent so long not eating it that your body's, even your taste buds, like everything about your nervous system is going to be like, this is weird stuff. What, like?
Yeah. And like I used to love, so the one meat I would have was prosciutto pizza. Absolutely love prosciutto, but I used to have 2 little pigs. So if I eat prosciutto, I just think of my pig. So now I can't eat prosciutto anymore. But the funny thing is my entire family they're sheep farmers.
Oh, right.
So when I say that to them, they cannot fathom it, because the reason they can eat meat is because they know where their meat's coming from.
Right.
Whereas that's the reason I can't eat it.
Yeah.
I just think meat's a funny thing. And I think we're now a bit more open to people can just eat what they want to eat. But like I remember when I was vegan, it was pretty unheard of. It was like the craziest thing ever. And there was something wrong with you for not wanting to eat meat.
Yeah, I've traveled with vegan people, and usually if I'm happy to eat vegan, like generally, like I said, fair weather. If it's too inconvenient or if it's impossible, I'll like fine, I'll eat whatever. But having traveled with them, it can depend on the country how hard it is to find appropriate food. Pretty good, especially in Sydney. You could very, very easily not tell someone and take them around and only take them to vegan places, and I reckon a lot of people would not know the difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big thing as well, location. Like, I know I don't go overseas. I'm too scared to go on a plane overseas. But if I'm traveling within Australia, Byron Bay is my favourite place in Australia. And I think one of the massive reasons that is because eating is so easy for me.
Yeah.
Any restaurant you go to there, you can eat vegan, keto, paleo, normal. You can do whatever you want. And because it's so, I guess, a new age place to be, it's so accommodating. Yeah. Whereas I actually find Melbourne is not that good yet. Melbourne, you can still go places and, yeah, it's nowhere near as accommodating. I mean, even Sydney, like if I go to Bondi or something, you can eat anything in Bondi. They're all pretty good like that.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, when I was camping and I went to this country pub, I had one option, and that was just vegetarian. There was like 10 meat options.
Was it a big mushroom?
No, it was a salad. That was like it was classic. Like, and this was a very country pub, but that's what it was like, 10 years ago everywhere, where there would be all these meat options and here's your salad if you want it.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better. Yeah, I remember at one point so many places would just be like some giant mushroom they found somewhere, and that's what you get.
Or the mushroom burger, where it was the like bread of a cheeseburger, but instead of the patty, you would just get a portobello mushroom. I lived off that.
Did you like them?
No, it's terrible because it's so soggy. It doesn't work. But that was just everywhere's go-to, the portobello mushroom burger.
Because you know, you don't even really need like imitation meat or anything like that. Like you can make something way better than a mushroom out of chickpeas or um, tofu or tempeh or something like that. There's so many better options than just a giant disgusting. I mean, I don't mind mushrooms, but I also don't like them that much. Like I'm happy to not
Yeah.
eat them.
I'm the same. I don't mind mushroom, but that was too much. It was excessive.
You mentioned ham, so I do know there's a place called the Center for Digestive Disorders, and this might be a topic that I don't know if we can put this on the podcast or see how we go. And they do something called FMT, which is if you have really bad digestive disorders, they will take fecal matter from a donor, and they will give it to you. That's
What?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you have to put that in the podcast because I've never heard of this in my life.
Right. No,
Why though? What does it do?
Well, because we're talking about gut microbiome diversity, and that generally, like if you're unhealthy, if your guts are unhealthy, and a lot of people with like IBS or some of these other things, plenty of disorders like that, they do find that the bacteria in their gut, through diet, through destroying gut microbiome with antibiotics, all this sort of stuff, that they don't have very much diversity in their gut. So this FMT is where they take one person's poop and they give it to someone else, and they transplant it. Basically, that's what they do.
It is the craziest. Because I have like IBS and stuff, and I just take a whole lot of probiotics. To think that's an option is terrifying.
It's
how
a
bad
one.
You have to be to pick that option.
They have a lot of studies about it being quite effective. Like there's research behind this actually working.
It makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Yeah,
it's just a full on idea, but it makes sense.
Yeah, and they have because they said they want to take someone with like really healthy digestive system and use what comes out of it and give it to someone else. Anyway, so they are very strict with the diets of the people who are donating their fecal matter. There's a whole lot of things that you can't eat, and I don't know all the reasoning behind them. Definitely parasites is a big one, but it's interesting to see the things that are off the list. You can't eat any raw meat if you're going to donate. You can't eat undercooked meat.
And this is including fish, isn't it? Where like it's all meats.
It has to be cooked through.
Because have you seen those videos of like raw salmon under a microscope?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Antibiotics was I think you can't, if you go on antibiotics and you're a donor, you can't. There's like a whole period of time which you can't anymore because. But also, you talked about ham. Any cured meat, out. You're not allowed to eat it if you're donating. Shellfish, out.
Oh, so that would be a tough one. I love shellfish.
One of the cheeses, I think it's hard cheeses, are out.
Well, I think when you're pregnant, you can't have soft cheese.
Yeah, I think it's probably soft cheese then. That's out. And of course, they want to see what your diet looks like if you're going to be on that program, and they like to see a lot of variety, a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans and legumes, and processed food is like, they don't want to see you eating white bread. They want to see all this other stuff, which I think makes a lot of sense. And it's the sort of stuff that I remember I was looking up, like paleo, was it paleo diet or paleo and no carbs? I remember when I looked it up a long time ago, and I think it was on Reddit or something, and there's so many of these posts that were like, hey guys, all I eat is barely cooked red meat. Is it normal that, I've had diarrhea for the last 3 months? And they're like, yeah, it's part of the process. You'll get used to it. It's like, that can't be good.
I was about to say, so the carnivore diet is popular on TikTok again.
Yeah.
Which is just that. And it's funny because everyone says that of the first 3 weeks, I'll have a headache and my stomach's a mess and I've got no energy. But that's the transitional process.
Yeah. Which, I don't know enough about the research to say definitively, and human bodies are very good at adapting to different diets. And I guess at least, whichever way you look at it, it's probably better than eating highly processed things. Like white bread is probably not great. So, and things like that. But I still don't think, if you only eat red meat, I don't know, I wouldn't do it anyway.
I couldn't. I mean, I just a lot of when I was vegan, I was doing all this research into what I was doing and why I was doing it. And you see how our bodies are made compared to a lion or something, how short their intestinal tracts is, the difference in their canines. It's hard to look at all that stuff. And even when I went back to eating meat, because I used to love, the raw beef carpaccio. What you have at Japanese, whatever that raw thing is.
Well, that probably is what it's called, right? But then it'll be with some egg or something, right?
Like that one.
Yeah.
So I used to love that. So when I wasn't vegan anymore, I kind of didn't want to believe all that stuff. But it's hard to research all that, see it, and then be in because I was in a biased situation when I was vegan. Like, here's the research that backs up my beliefs. Then to be unbiased and still have that in the back of my mind and ignore it was a really interesting thing, because it's like, no, actually, like, even though I want to eat this, that still makes a lot of sense. Even though now I'm not trying to convince people what I'm doing is best, I actually want to convince myself it's not best. It's hard to read all that stuff, see all that stuff. And I mean, this is when all the stuff was coming out about how meats are carcinogenic and all that stuff. And then to go, no, but to eat this is fine. It was really, it was bizarre. And I think that's a lot of the reason why now I choose not to eat meat, because trying to get myself to eat meat and enjoy it after spending years and years reading and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a documentary called, I think, Game Changers, which was actually about the science behind being vegan and these vegan athletes. And when you see their bodies and how they're thriving and they're not putting this stuff into their bodies, which is so questionable, you kind of go, why would I?
You mentioned then something about cooked meat, or like anyway, there's carcinogenic, right? So one thing, and this information might be a little bit out of date, but definitely part of the thing that we really enjoy about not only meat, but, just cooked things in general, that when you brown meat, or when you caramelize sugar, all these sorts of things, when you cook them, you get the glucose gets broken down through heat. There's something called advanced glycation end products, which is like that nice caramelization on the outside of the steak. And it's in a lot of other things as well, like, your pizza and the burnt crust and all this. And that is a lot of evidence that that's carcinogenic, like that's bad stuff, which is ironic because that's the bit that we love the most, right?
I've actually, not the whole science behind it, but I have heard that before because I love roast potatoes. Really crispy roast potatoes.
Yeah. And
someone said that to me, that like charred bit, and like the charred bit on wood-fired pizza that everyone loves.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've always wondered about it, and maybe I'll do some research and report back next episode. But anyone who smells a barbecue, or maybe not, maybe if you've been vegan for a long time, this doesn't happen, but it smells good. And the thing is, like, what's the thing that smells good and why? Is it that you've just been conditioned. Because, if I go to a butcher or go to the supermarket and I'm near the raw meats, gag. Like nothing about that smells good at all. But if the neighbor has got their barbecue going, something smells good. Maybe it's the onions that they're doing at the same time. But
I was going to say, because when I was vegan, I still remember smelling like a roast and stuff.
Mm.
And it still smells good.
Yeah,
but you're not smelling meat, like you said. The raw meat smell, that's a meat smell. And that doesn't smell good to anyone. You go into a butcher, it's gross.
Yeah.
But once it's cooked and it's caramelized and it's delicious, yeah, it's so different.
Yeah, and I've always wondered, why is your brain so hardwired to smell cooking things? And is this humans only? Do cats, like, because apparently they can taste all the different amino acids and stuff. Do cats smell raw meat and go amazing, and then cook stuff, they're like, ugh?
I mean, maybe it's like a memory thing even, or a dopamine thing, because when you said cats, so my dog is crate trained.
Mm.
When we are eating dinner, he goes in his crate, and he's great, he loves it, he's quiet. We will put him in there for dinner every night, same routine. If we get pizza, he howls. From the other room, he can smell it every time, and he howls.
And has he ever eaten pizza?
Yes. He always gets the crust.
Right.
So he can obviously smell it, and he knows what that smell is instantly.
But he only gets the crust, so he doesn't get the source of all the other smells. Oh, but does the crust have a little bit of...
No, because he's a Dalmatian and has all of these health things.
Right.
We make sure the crust has no tomato sauce, no garlic, no meats. It is just like the very end of the crust where it's totally plain.
And just knows that, yes. I wonder if you'd never given it to him, would he still find the smell amazing? It's like, and why do our brains... Bakeries smell great too. Like food being cooked just smells great to humans. I guess that makes sense because it reduces... I think it increases the calorie density of foods, or it makes the calories ready to digest. Like if you eat a raw potato, I think your guts can't do it, so you won't get the calories out of it. But if you eat a cooked potato, you can get all the calories. So maybe humans, we like the smell of, or maybe everyone likes the smell of cooked things because we know that's but it's such a, we invented fire, right? So, we found fire. So why is it so hardwired that cooking things smell so great? And maybe it's just trained from, when you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Either it's nostalgia or survival instinct, just something along those lines.
Can you think of a food that you've, when it's being cooked, or something that's worse, smells worse after it's cooked?
I mean, eggs. The smell of egg is disgusting.
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing I can think of. The smell of egg, I just think is foul.
Yeah, even cafes, I find often their glasses that they serve you water in will smell like egg too.
I've never noticed that, and now it's going to be what I think of next time I go out for breakfast.
Yeah, try it. I guess it's some sort of sulfur compounds, right? And humans are very sensitive to sulfur because I guess it's toxic to us in large quantities. So, and then of course there's, poor people in third world countries working in sulfur mines with nothing but a hanky over their face.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you try this week? Wellness trends.
So I've had a funny week because it's in between. Obviously, grand final isn't that big where you are. You're in New South Wales, so you guys are all rugby.
Yeah, I guess on average, I'm no more into. In fact, probably AFL would be my favorite, the one I've seen live the most.
It's taking over slowly but surely.
Even then, I wouldn't know when any grand final was on. So
it's huge in my family because we're all involved in it. So today's Friday, and I got back from Sydney on Sunday night. So this 4 days has felt like, that weird time between Christmas and New Year's Eve where you're just a wreck?
Yeah, what day is it? Where am I? Yeah.
That's been my week. I've just been all over the place. So I started last week on some new probiotics and collagens and stuff like that. And this week, I have actually just been trying to be consistent with that stuff. And it's been interesting considering how much like stress my body's been under when it comes to, because if I don't eat perfect, normally I face the consequences. I've actually been okay.
Right.
Just being on a good probiotic. I've tried a new bone broth. What else have I started? I've started collagen. I've been having magnesium at nighttime. Knowing I had a bit of a hectic couple weeks was like, oh, this is probably a good time to try something that's new and I can do every day.
Yeah.
And it's actually been working. So maybe there is some reality behind supplements. It's the first time I've taken supplements, and these are drinking ones. I think that's my thing. I don't like pills. I can't consistently take a pill.
Oh, you have trouble swallowing?
Not swallowing, but I don't know if it's a mental thing, but they make me feel nauseous.
Is it B6 or B? One of the B vitamins actually will.
Yeah. B12, I think, because I think I used to try to take that, and iron makes me sick, zinc makes me sick. All the things that do, like they say it makes you sick. But I think because of that stuff, and you have to have it with food, and if I forget to eat in the morning, then I'm like, well, I can't have my supplements. So it's also these drinks I can just have, and I think that's been good because I've been consistent with it, and I've actually been seeing a difference.
What bacteria are in that probiotic?
I have no idea. I do know there's different strains, and I have actually attempted to look into the different strains, but I can never get my brain around it. It's the imbibe one, so IMBIBE. It tastes delicious, and that is the one reason I can be consistent with it, because it's actually enjoyable. I wake up in the morning and I look forward to taking it.
Right. Okay, ingredients. Yeah, it's got quite a few in it. Lactobacillus acidophilus, casei, which... so Yakult, that's Lactobacillus casei, and if I pronounce that correctly, casei, because I think it's from the casein protein. That's where they originally developed it from. So that Yakult has just that one in it, and it's a particular strain that they call the Schroeder strain or something. So it's got that. It's also got Plantarum, Lactobacillus, more ones that fermentum I've heard of. Lactobacillus bulgaricus I've never heard of, and it's got 2 bifido ones, and I don't even know what this is. Sakura something. It's got some other one I've never heard of. So that sounds good. I mean, there's a whole diversity in there.
Yeah, so that's been my thing recently.
Yeah, when they do the fecal matter transplant, they don't want people on probiotics, but the reasoning for it was that they select people who have a nice, healthy diversity to begin with, and they want to keep them like how they are. And if they introduce, for someone who's already feeling quite healthy, if you introduce more bacteria, you don't know, how it's going to affect them. So they're not against probiotics, but they're like, we've got people whose guts are healthy, then we kind of leave them alone. But yeah, interesting. There's heaps of stuff in there. And so you've just feel generally good, like it's working.
Yeah, just like I feel normal. Whereas normally, because I said ate terrible when we were camping, I wasn't eating amazing, and then Sunday ate terrible. Monday ate terrible because I was tired. Yeah. And then Tuesday, Wednesday was fine. Yesterday was fine. But like normally it would take me a week to still feel like I'd still be feeling a bit crappy. Yeah. Whereas I feel fine today, which is good because it's funny how much anxiety feeling crap in your gut can give you. Like normally by today I would be like, oh my God, I've got like an insane 3 days and I feel terrible. My weekend's ruined already. Yeah, whereas I haven't got that.
Yeah, so many nerves, Dad. Like it's a whole thing. But it would be interesting to maybe we can try and get a microbiologist or somebody on to talk about bacteria. It's been a trend for a number of years, but I have also tried a probiotic for like teeth. This is a few years ago. And not that I didn't have any bad problems.
I was going to say, because you look like you have really good teeth. I wouldn't think...
No, I've got my teeth are fine. I don't have any fillings. But at the time, yeah, I was just for some reason it's like increased oral health, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. Don't know if I did anything, but I do a lot of allergies when I was a kid. Had a deviated septum, which I had to get fixed later on, and so I guess I've had a long history of like allergies and stuff like that. And there is a sinus probiotic. I'm pretty convinced actually helps. On the one hand, you think like you want to have this bacteria in you because that's how your body works. Like there's a whole lot of, you derive benefit from the bacteria. I think there's some foods that is broken down by bacteria in your guts, and without the bacteria, you can't actually digest the food at all. I think there's some things like that. But it's definitely interesting to think about all that bacteria that you need, and like on your skin as well. People who get sick and they go on lots of antibiotics, and then they get a staph infection somewhere because the staph is the really strong bacteria that will live through anything. And then you take all these antibiotics and you kill all the other varieties of bacteria on your skin, and now you've only got staph left, and then staph is not friendly.
What did you try this week? You tried something.
Yeah, so I tried Pulsetto, and actually I've got it. So it's this thing, and you have to get, there's like a gel that goes with it, but goes on your neck here. So if you don't like feeling like you've been choked, it's I guess it's not here, which is nice, but it is around your neck, and it basically electrocutes you.
Does it hurt?
The
fact you're saying means to an extent it hurts.
And it's not pleasant.
How long do you have to wear it for?
It depends. There's an app, and you can do different programs depending on what you're trying to do. It's just anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes usually.
Yeah, okay. I mean, 5 to 10 minutes of pain for benefits.
Well, it's not. When it starts, you get a little bit of like electric shock, but it makes all these muscles like twitch.
Yeah, right. Because I Googled it a little bit, and this one actually does have science behind it. It's not just someone on social media saying, this is great, everyone should do it. This does actually have proper science behind it.
Yeah. I think it's done something to me. Yeah. Like in certain ways, I feel like it definitely has an effect on how I feel. When
do you use it? Do you use it in the morning or any time?
I've used it just during the day occasionally, and I also have been using it every night. There's a sleep one. There's a program for sleep, so I do that 30 minutes before I'm going to go to sleep. And it has very real physiological effects, but I still don't know what that means.
How long have you been using it for now?
About 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. But you'll keep using this one. This one's actually a winner that you'd actually keep doing.
I think so. There's something else, and I can't remember the name of it, that I used to use, and basically it was similar. There was an app for your phone, and it came as like a real red thing, and then had wires, and it had these little like the electrode pads, and you would stick it on muscles that you were having problems with. I used one of those, and they were all the rage for a while. This is when I was doing a bit of CrossFit, and they were all the rage, and I used one because I had so many injuries from overtraining, and I used one for a while, and I know it makes a difference to some things, but, and this is kind of where I get back to my current thinking around supplementing as well, is that does this become like a...
Yeah, it's like you're saying the other week.
Crap?
Yeah, I see what
like,
you're...
I know it's having an effect. I don't really know what effect. And then you also don't know Could it be having side effects that I'm not aware of? And then it's like, if I need it and then I go on holidays and I forget it and I'm like, oh, I feel miserable all holiday because I forgot like that becomes a problem.
Yeah, the dependency starts to form.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend people who, like, if you are looking at Pulsetto because it's things that they say it's going to help with, you think would matter to you, I think it's definitely worth trying it. Will I keep using it? Absolutely. Will I use it forever? Probably not. But I think it definitely does. Made me feel generally better. So it's made a difference.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'd say that one's a win compared to some of the other things.
Yeah, and it has a setting for digestion as well, which I am pretty sure. I don't know. It's actually, like I said, it's so hard to tell with so many of these things. Like, if you keep everything else consistent in your life, you know which thing. But I am very confident it is helpful. Whether I will use it religiously forever, probably not. But that tends to be how I am. Like,
which for good reason, because like you said, that dependency, and even if it's just a mental dependency of that stress of what happens if I don't have it.
Yeah.
That's just going to mess your body up.
That's right. And even as it is, if I go on holidays, I can't not do some exercise. And that can't be that healthy. Like, if I stay in a hotel and it's like, I've got to go use the gym to feel like a person, that's probably not great. Or maybe it is great. I don't know. Maybe it's good to have that habit.
Yeah, well, I mean, movement's good. I think it's more, like you said, it's the level of stress that if you were to not work out, does it totally ruin your life for that moment? Or is it it's annoying, but it's okay, I can do it tomorrow.
Yeah, on that, I have had, I don't think I hurt my back, but in the 2 weeks leading up to the event, and just how much of it was stress related or like whatever else, but I had some unusual lower back pain to the point where, like, a couple of days before our event, I woke up one morning and it was hard to move, which is probably a bad sign.
Yeah, probably.
Because I had a little bit of that back pain. I still had to carry boxes around and stuff like that, but I didn't go to the gym. And I haven't been to the gym I went yesterday. No, I went the day before yesterday, Wednesday, and I'll go today. But having not been for a couple of weeks, I swear I was getting heart palpitations. And I don't know if that's like, that can't be, that's strange.
Well, you were still active. It's not like you were sitting in bed for 2 weeks. Like, you were still lifting boxes and running around. And
no, but I don't know. I think I didn't get my heart rate up high enough or something. And then
oh yeah, I see.
I went and I got Rolfed.
What?
So now we know we're talking about all these wellness things. So and we can talk about this probably a different episode, but I've done a lot of I guess what they would call like somatic bodywork stuff over the years. I've done Alexander technique. I've done Feldenkrais.
I've never heard of any of this, so maybe we should do a whole episode on this, because I have no idea what you are talking about right now.
I did a little bit of one called Tregomentastics, I believe. Pilates is so common now. Everyone's done Pilates, so I did some Pilates. But, like all these sorts of movementy things, there's this whole school of them. And there's also different sorts of massaging things that you can get.
I do know about that stuff because I'm a big believer in lymphatic massages.
Right, okay, I've never had one.
So I know there's all different sorts of that sort of thing. A lymphatic massage is the belief of helping the lymphatic system basically remove toxins.
And you find them effective?
I've done one before. I find them super effective, but it's a Brazilian thing that's starting to come to Australia, and for that reason, there's one that does it like sort of near me, but it's half an hour away.
Yeah.
So anything that far away, it's like it's an hour of driving, but if it was closer to me, I probably would do it weekly.
Well, okay. So I guess when I talk about like all these somatic therapy things, it's kind of like where like massage is someone prods you, and that's the therapy. These other ones, it's more like the movement is the therapy. Like we'll get you to move in certain ways. So, and then on the physical therapy side, like having done a bunch of sport, and I did CrossFit for a while, that I had so many of those done. And one of them that I had done, this back problem, was called rolfing, and they also call it, I think, functional integration is part of it. And the explanation for it doesn't sound very scientific, but there is evidence that the therapy itself is effective.
Yeah, okay. Which I think can be sometimes even more convincing than a big scientific blurb.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well that one of the things about physical therapy is maybe that, if you have pain somewhere and someone does anything to help you like think about it or focus on it, because it's all about how you like your brain and your nervous system. So if you have pain somewhere and you get a massage, like probably it's going to help somewhat. But their idea is that you get adhesions in tissues, and the massage they do is quite different. They get this sticky stuff on their hands, and they push it quite slowly across the skin. And their idea is that they want to, you get adhesions between your fascia and your muscles and stuff like this. And so they call it hydrate your tissues, which I think when I hear that, it's a little bit like I've had some chiropractic done. Have you ever been to a chiropractor?
Once or twice. Not consistently, not recently.
Yeah. So chiropractors, and I've also been to osteopaths, and they have these similar things where they do those adjustments. And as far as everything I can read about the science, is that the concept they have about you needing an adjustment is just utter shit. From what I've read of all the research, that concept that like your spines or your joints like are stuck or in the wrong position or things like this, that it's not true. And yet a lot of those therapies have demonstrated like real positive effects on people's movement, people's health, stuff like that. So, but anyway, I had this rolfing done, and quite painful, like as far as massages go, which is kind of my preferred massage. I don't really like, but made a big difference.
I mean, I do believe in all that stuff because, I mean, even footy, you see, that's what they're doing when they go off. They're getting those really rough massages. Yeah. And these top athletes wouldn't be getting that done if it doesn't do anything. And that's that kind of, like you were saying, there might not be a huge scientific reason why it works, but there's a lot of people saying it works. And I tend to believe that more. I think you can find science to back up pretty much anything, and it can not mean a lot. Whereas if you have a massive group of people saying this has massively changed my life, or it actually did fix this problem in my back pain, that I'm going to believe more.
Yeah, for sure. Because I 100%, we often find that in science that we were wrong about things, and that goes both ways. We can be wrong about things that we think are good, and we always have to be receptive to changing our minds about how things work or why they work or what's good and what's not based on new things that we learn.
All right, what are we doing? Do we know what we're doing next podcast?
We can try and find as we talked about, we could try and find a microbiologist to talk about us and talk about microbiomes and taking bacteria as different things, or we could go back to what we were going to do this week, which was detox. And is it a thing or is it not a thing? I
mean, I think we're going to get some guests on, which will be really exciting. Yes. But talking about the gut Can't speak. Talking about the gut microbiome and detoxing probably does go hand in hand, because a lot of people say when you detox, you get rid of a lot of bacteria that you need. So potentially that could be a good one to have that expert opinion on. Is detoxing a thing, and is it beneficial, or are we just causing other problems by removing too much?
Yeah. I guess some bacteria release toxins and some do, yeah. So, okay. Let's look around for a esteemed microbiologist that we can bring to our podcast.
Let's do that.
Cool. And put us both on the spot. What's the next wellness trend to try next week?
I still have to do the castor oil thing.
Okay.
So that's going to be next week. I'm finally going to do that, because that one I have done once and it's incredibly unpleasant sticking oil to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to try it for a week. I'm going to hold myself accountable and do it next week.
Awesome. I don't know what I'm going to try. I could not eat for the next week and just say I've done a fasting experiment. Any ideas?
There'd be so many things. The second we turn the camera off, I'll get like 20 ideas of different things I want to try. But right now, in this moment,
if I asked you what's the trendiest thing, like what's the latest trend?
Well, that carnivore diet, that is the trendiest thing.
I can't. I already know the answer to that. My gut will be, please stop, for the love of God.
That is the trendiest thing right now, which I can safely say neither of us will be able to comment on.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that works really well for. It's not my stomach. I know it for sure.
Mentally, I couldn't do it.
There was one thing I saw, but I'm not going to try it. It was like they do this whole battery of blood tests for everything, and then they do some personalized thing. But it's like $15,000 or something utterly insane like that.
I potentially think I know what you're talking about. Did someone on a podcast talk about it?
I think so, yeah.
I've listened to a podcast where someone was like, they do like Hollywood actors and stuff, and that's what they do. They take this massive blood panel. It costs a fortune, and they I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Digital detox, I feel like that's not practical.
Maybe you should go do the cryotherapy.
Oh, the stand-up one?
Yeah, I'm too scared to do it, but you already do the cold plunge, so you're going to be a lot better at it than me. You were electrocuting yourself this week, so I don't think it's that bad.
Well, the reason I'm slightly hesitant is that it's not really, I don't really have it anymore. When I was younger, I had what was called primary Raynaud's syndrome, where for no reason that any doctor could find, mostly my hands, not so much my feet, my hands would discolor in cold weather.
Like what color? Is that the one where it goes almost like that white, yellowy?
No, they would usually be like kind of reddish or purplish.
Oh, that's weird. Because I've seen some people where they get this thing on their hands where they go like, it's this white, creamy color. If
it was in cold weather, then they would probably have a much worse. Mine was pretty mild, but it's just something to do with the way your capillaries I think it's capillaries, are like the blood vessels at your extremities, how they just respond to temperature fluctuations. So the doctors were never worried about it, but it always annoyed me that cosmetically it doesn't look great. But that doesn't really happen anymore, but there is a thing that they say you shouldn't do full body cryo if that's the case, but I'll find out.
Otherwise, yours next week will be a surprise.
Sleep deprivation.
Yeah, maybe you could just, between not sleeping for a week or not eating for a week.
Or do neither for a week and see how insane I end up.
Could be just me on the podcast next week.
Well, yeah. Awesome. Okay. Until next week.
See you next week.